Hi, I'm Dr. Dralos. This is a lecture on terminology of the endocrine system. The endocrine system is a messenger system comprising feedback loops of hormones released by glands into the circulatory system to regulate distant target organs. The word endocrinology comes from endo meaning inside, plus crinian meaning separate, plus logi meaning study of. Endocrinology is the medical specialty focused on disorders of the endocrine system, including diabetes and hypothyroidism. There are many organs and structures involved in the endocrine system. This is a brief review of some of them. The hypothalamus produces various releasing hormones, including TRH, CRH, GHRH, and GnRH, which encourage release of other hormones. The hypothalamus also produces hormones that inhibit the release of other hormones, for example, dopamine, which inhibits prolactin release. The pituitary is divided into the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary produces ACTH, TSH, FSH, LH, GH, and prolactin. The posterior pituitary stores and secretes antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin. The thyroid gland produces thyroid hormone, also called T3 and T4, while the parathyroid glands produce parathyroid hormone, or PTH. The adrenal glands are divided into the adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. The adrenal cortex produces aldosterone and glucocorticoid hormones, while the adrenal medulla produces epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. The pancreas produces insulin and glucagon. The ovary produces estrogen and progesterone, and the testes produce testosterone. The endocrine system is full of feedback loops. An example feedback loop is the TRH, TSH, and T3-T4 feedback loop. TRH is thyrotropin releasing hormone. This is a hormone released by the hypothalamus that causes increased TSH release. TSH, called thyroid stimulating hormone or thyrotropin, is a hormone released by the pituitary. This hormone causes increased T3 and T4 release. T3 and T4, the thyroid hormones, are released by the thyroid gland and affect many different parts of the body. Decreased T3 and T4 levels lead to increased TRH secretion. A diagram of the feedback loop is shown on the right. There are many other feedback loops in the endocrine system. These are two diagrams, a renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system feedback loop diagram and a GnRH, LH, FSH sex hormone diagram. The renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system is involved in regulating the circulating blood volume, the extracellular fluid volume, and blood pressure, while the GnRH, LH, FSH sex hormone system is involved in sexual reproduction. Now we'll overview individual hormones and their etymology. First, the word hormone comes from hormone, meaning impel or set in motion, because hormones impel or set in motion many different processes in the body. There are over 70 different human hormones summarized in a great Wikipedia table that I have linked to here. But on the following slides, we'll go through some key hormones and their Latin and Greek roots. The hormone adiponectin affects glucose levels and comes from adip meaning fat and nectare meaning bind, tie, or fasten. Adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, increases production of corticosteroids in the adrenal gland. Adrenocorticotropic comes from adrenal, meaning relating to the adrenal gland, plus cortico, meaning cortex or bark, referring to the adrenal cortex, plus tropic, meaning turning, changing, or affecting. Aldosterone is a hormone that increases blood volume through reabsorption of sodium. It comes from aldehyde plus steroid plus one. In other words, the name is based on the chemical structure of aldosterone. Angiotensin is a hormone that constricts blood vessels and leads to increased aldosterone release. This comes from angio, meaning relating to blood vessels, plus tension, referring to hypertension or high blood pressure. Antidiuretic hormone, ADH, also called vasopressin, leads to water retention. The word antidiuretic comes from anti meaning against, plus dia meaning through, plus oron meaning urine. Against through urine, or less water in the urine, retaining more water in the body. Calcitonin is a hormone that leads to more bone construction and reduced blood calcium, and comes from calci meaning calcium, plus tonicos meaning tension. Calcitriol is the active form of vitamin D3. It increases calcium and phosphate absorption. It comes from calci meaning calcium, plus triol, which is referring to a trihydroxyalcohol chemical structure. Cholecystokinin is a hormone that causes release of digestive enzymes from the pancreas, release of bile from the gallbladder, and hunger suppression. The word cholecystokinin comes from chola meaning bile, plus cysto meaning sac, plus kinin meaning move. In other words, move the bile sac or cause release of bile from the gallbladder. Cortisol is a hormone that inhibits glucose uptake and stimulates fat breakdown. It comes from Latin cortex. This is referring to the fact that cortisol is a steroid hormone found in the adrenal cortex. Epinephrine affects blood pressure, sugar use, and fat use in the body. It comes from epi, meaning above, plus nephros, meaning kidney, referring to the fact that epinephrine comes from glands that are above the kidney anatomically. Erythropoietin stimulates red blood cell production, and it comes from erythros, meaning red, plus poietis, meaning creator or maker of red blood cells. Estrogen increases female secondary sex characteristics. This has very funny etymology. It comes from oistros, meaning mad desire, and genin, meaning to produce. Follicle-stimulating hormone in women stimulates maturation of follicles in the ovary. The word follicle comes from folliculus, meaning little bag. Gastrin causes secretion of gastric acid in the stomach and comes from gaster, meaning stomach. Ghrelin increases appetite and releases growth hormone. The word ghrelin comes from the Proto-Indo-European root gray, meaning to grow. Glucagon increases blood glucose levels. It comes from glucose, meaning sweet, plus agon, meaning leading or bringing. Gonadotropin-releasing hormone releases FSH and LH. The word gonadotropin comes from gonad, plus tropin, meaning acting upon. Growth hormone stimulates growth. Human chorionic gonadotropin helps maintain pregnancy. Chorionic comes from chorion, referring to the membrane that surrounds the fetus. Insulin causes uptake of glucose and fat into cells. It comes from insula, meaning island. Insulin is produced by islet cells in the pancreas. Leptin decreases appetite and increases metabolism. Comes from leptos, meaning fine or thin. Luteinizing hormone, or LH, stimulates ovulation. It comes from luteus, meaning yellow. This is the same root that corpus luteum includes. A corpus luteum affects LH secretion. Melatonin affects the sleep-wake cycle. It comes from melis, meaning black, plus serotonin, which is a melanin precursor. Motilin stimulates gastric activity. The word motilin comes from motus, meaning motion. Oxytocin has many functions, including release of breast milk, increasing uterine contractions, various effects on social relationships, and the circadian rhythm. It comes from oxus, meaning sharp, plus tokos, meaning childbirth, or sharp childbirth, specifying its effects on uterine contraction. Parathyroid hormone, or PTH, increases blood calcium. It comes from para, meaning beside, plus thyroid. This is referring to the fact that the parathyroid glands are beside the thyroid gland. Progesterone supports pregnancy. It comes from pro, meaning for or forward, plus gestare, to carry about. Prolactin leads to milk production. It comes from pro, meaning for or forward, plus lact, meaning milk. Prostaglandins dilate blood vessels. The word prostaglandin literally breaks down to prostate gland in, referring to the fact that prostaglandin was first isolated from seminal fluid. Testosterone increases male secondary sex characteristics and comes from testes, meaning testicle, plus sterol, meaning steroid, referring to the chemical structure. Thyroid hormone, also called T3 and T4, increases metabolism. Comes from thureos, meaning oblong shield, which is referring to the shape of the thyroid gland. These are some references. Thank you for listening to my lecture today.